Hello, colleagues, culture shifters, change makers, different makers, all these wonderful things that we are as we create an impact in South Africa. We are in the month of youth, and I am so thrilled to be talking to one of our young people from the AGSA and just exploring some topics around how do we make the organization an organization that continues to build for the future. We want to future-proof this organization for the future. And so I sincerely believe that that starts with building our young people. We have a large number of young people in this organization. In fact, fun fact, the average age of AGSA employees is 34. So we have a lot of young people in the organization. We are a youthful organization. Even us oldies are young at heart. So, yes, happy Youth Month. I wanted to start off this Youth Month conversation by talking a lot about why I do what I do as the Chief People Officer. One of my passions is building capacity for the future. And that's why Youth Month is so important for me. So let me introduce you to Anwill Botha.
Yes.
He is the YPLF leader in the Northern Cape.
Yeah, the chairperson there.
He is a brand ambassador.
Yes, I am. I'm a brand ambassador.
And he's going to tell us everything else that he is. And so I'm going to be having a conversation with him. And the first question I want to ask him is, we're going to put titles away today, okay? So as you can see, haven't mentioned my title, don't mention your title, because we're talking about leadership.
All right.
Anwill, as a young person at the AGSA, who are you becoming?
Sure. I know you say we must put titles away. And I want to acknowledge that I know your name is Lindiwe, but it feels weird for me to say. So apologies, but I'm going to say CPO, right?
No!
Should I say Lindiwe?
Yes.
Okay. So the person I'm becoming is, honestly, I think it's someone that is making his past self proud and someone that excites his future self. Wow. Yeah, I am very intentional about my personal and professional development at the moment. And I think it's because this organization allows me the platforms, the opportunities to do that.
Oh, wow. That is so amazing. So what are the things that make you successful when no one is watching? You know, a lot of us do things because we want to be seen, we want to progress, and when someone is watching, this is how I want to show up. We talk about showing up.
Yeah.
But I want to know, what are some of the habits, some of the things you've accustomed to doing when no one is watching?
Okay, yeah. So honestly, the journey to becoming a CA is full of trials and tribulations, and I think on a surface level, I have reached a point where I am too deep in it to give up on myself now, because it does get challenging sometimes. But also that feeling you get when your parents look at you and they're just so proud of your achievements. They are so proud. And I think, honestly, as you mentioned in the introduction, it's about future-proofing myself. So those three things, I think, will be summed up as showing up for myself so that I can show up for those who are going to need me in future.
Yeah.
And that drives me when no one is looking.
I love that. I love that. You know, and I'm sure you've heard me say this, I continue to say, when you stop learning, you stop growing.
Yes.
And therefore, as a young person, my expectation is that learning and developing is a priority.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it for other people, but you're actually doing it for yourself.
Definitely.
Right? But I'm also sensing you say it's actually about the disciplines, the everyday disciplines, where you're realizing that, okay, I've made my mom and my dad proud. how do I make myself proud?
Yes.
How do I look at the old self and say the future self is looking bright because of these disciplines? What are some of those disciplines? Like everyday disciplines.
Yeah.
Yesterday I posted something on WhatsApp, and my son was not very pleased with me because he said, it sounds like you're telling everybody we don't make our beds. And I was saying, you know, the small disciplines are, if you wake up and make your bed,
Yeah.
come back to a tidy place, clears your mind, you know, it's the small disciplines. So, okay, no, my sons do make their beds. But as a young person, what are those small disciplines, you know, that have landed you where you are?
Yeah, I think, so for me, I am not a morning person, and I have accepted that fact about myself, right? And I have a very open communication line with my assistant manager, for example. So our agreement is, instead of me getting to work at 7:30, I get to work at 8. And then that half an hour just adds to the end of my day. Nice. So that is a simple thing, but it helped me to not feel so rushed in the morning. It helped me to not feel or start my day on the back foot because I'm already late.
Yeah.
And then having consistency for me is very important. I tell my friends, I have self-diagnosed OCD. Yeah. So for me, doing things in a certain way, funny you mentioned making the bed, that is the last thing I do before I leave my room, but I can't leave the house without knowing my bed is made. Yeah. So small habits, definitely I'd say, is to look into or inwards towards yourself, saying, what are the things that's bothering you? Figuring out how can we navigate or manage those things. For me, it is waking up early to be at work early. I don't enjoy that. My managers are lenient enough to say, you know what, that is fine. Will you work 8 hours for the day? If the answer is yes, how do we work around that? So that's one small thing that I changed in my day-to-day that helps me in the morning. And then the second thing is, when I wake up, for me, in winter, I have difficulty getting out of bed. I don't know if you guys just wake up and it's
You're
easy.
Human. We're all human.
Yeah.
It's difficult for all of us.
But so I have to count to 3 to just jump out of bed and just face the cold, straight to the kettle, get a cup of coffee, and just breathe. Because my mind starts running all over the place from the moment I wake up.
You know, Anwill, if I think about my career and I think about when in my life I knew that it was going to be okay, I can almost pinpoint the moment. You know, I can almost pinpoint the moment and say, because I think a lot of young people find themselves in a place where they're like, you know, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be all right?
Yeah.
When am I going to get settled? When was that moment for you? What was your breakthrough moment where you kind of felt, okay, now I've landed and I'm now on a good trajectory to getting to where I need to be as a person?
Yeah. So that moment was, funny enough, this year. So my previous 2 years was mentally challenging for various reasons, like finances. You get a taste of, this is a salary, this is what you're supposed to do with it. But for some reason, I was struggling to manage getting through the month with my salary. And it's no one's fault. It's probably my own. But it's also that sense of excitement you get because now you go from a university stipend into the working world and you're getting a salary, right? But this year specifically was, I passed my final board exams.
Wow, well done for that. Come, let's do this.
Thank you.
I always say to people, don't mind other people. It's okay to do this.
The pat on the back.
Pat on the back. Well done for that.
Thank you. But so after the board exams, I knew, so I think the moment for me was the message was released the 28th of February. My mother had so much faith in me passing this board exam. She already booked a whole day in Sun City for us.
Oh, wow.
The day after the results came out.
Wow.
And she waited till the results came out to tell me about it. But that was, I realized in that moment, you know what, Anwill? you do not allow yourself to believe enough in yourself. And my whole perspective changed about that. The moment I realized I am set on a very surface level was when I started taking over all my financial obligations from my parents, and I'm still able to live.
Oh, wow. That's freedom.
Financial freedom.
Yeah, financial freedom was it for you. Hey.
Yes.
And you know, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you're associating your financial freedom with an accomplishment of your qualification.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing, right? I hope others are listening. I hope others are listening and understanding that it is worth it.
Yeah.
It's not only worth it for the CA after the name.
For the brackets.
Yeah, not only for the bracket, but also it gives you financial freedom.
It does.
And it's a sense of accomplishment. Okay, I want you to also tell us a little bit about your actual work. You know, because the reason I'm here, I often say to my colleagues, the reason I'm here is because I don't want to be those South African people who around the braai are always talking about the problems of South Africa.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have that conversation around the braai to say, we are doing something about it. I'm part of a movement. I'm part of an organization that is actually doing something. And yes, it feels like it's taking longer than it should. But I can pinpoint to certain things within the country and say, I've elevated this issue. I've provided insights on these issues. My organization is helping the country to move forward in certain aspects. What initiative have you led in the work that you've been privileged to do here at the AGSA, where you feel like, you know, I'm contributing meaningfully to my country?
So I think I'll start with, because I am privileged enough to wear a few hats at the AG at the moment, right? But from a brand ambassador perspective, I think my favorite part of being a brand ambassador is when we go out to the universities, right? Speaking to the students, because I did not know the AGSA existed right through my studies, and in my first year of work as well. I was working at a different firm. In the middle of my first year, one of my colleagues that time came to me and said, they are considering moving to the Auditor-General. And I asked him, who's the Auditor-General? And I was so shocked when I found out that I have been curious about the behind the scenes of this country from high school. And he's telling me that I can do my psycho articles, become a competent chartered accountant, and see the behind the scenes of the country.
Wow.
And that is a privilege we only get here at the Auditor-General, right? But back to my favorite part of university is now I can contribute to making sure people are aware that the Auditor-General does exist. They don't need to first do 12 months at another firm, get a SICA penalty because they're moving firms or whatever the case might be. They can start from the get-go, their articles, they can start it at the Auditor-General. So that's, from a brand ambassador perspective, my favorite part of it. Being in auditing, doing my articles, I think last year was with the MFMA cycle when we're auditing the municipalities. That really put auditing into perspective for myself. Because I was auditing the HR components, a bit of expenditure, but when we got to the municipalities, I got to audit assets. And asset verifications, I know sometimes when we auditors speak, we sound like AGSAs, walking and breathing AGSAs, but you learn the jargon. But yeah, so at the municipality, I went out for asset verifications, and that really showed me the impact we can have. If I give you a basic example, CPO, it is we go to all different neighborhoods in a city or a town because you select various assets, right? The moment you get to a neighborhood that is so neglected, but you see on the asset register of a company, they are telling you those assets are in perfect condition. That's where we as AGSA makes a difference in people's everyday lives, because then I can raise that finding and say, this asset register is not a true reflection of the conditions the people are sitting with when we get on the ground. And I think that was what put auditing into perspective. And that is also a big motivation to take everything we do seriously. Because even if you don't see it yet, it does affect the ordinary lives of South Africans.
Sure. And so I'm interested in that part where you talk about moving. So you actually were registered to do your articles at a private firm.
Yes,
and you moved in the middle.
In the middle,
to come to the Auditor-General. Why?
Honestly, the curiosity about the behind the scenes of what's happening in our country. And I actually started using this as my pitch to the university students. I asked them, do you find yourself complaining about problems in our country? 99% of the time, the answer is yes. And then I tell them, if you want to complain, you have to be on the other side of the same coin as well. You can complain when you are actively trying to do something about it. And the Auditor-General is the only place we're going to get that chance to do something about our lived experiences, our everyday lives. So that's the first reason. The first reason was I was genuinely curious about how South Africa operates, and the Auditor-General provides me with this big opportunity, and I couldn't let it go. The second reason was I wanted to move back home. Home for me is Kimberley. That's where I grew up. Yes. And for various reasons, but the Auditor-General just made the process effortless and seamless, and you feel welcome from the moment the recruitment agents make contact with you when you fill out that application form on the website. I immediately knew this is a place I can see myself on the long run.
Wow, I love that. And often, you know, I don't know about you, but I take that word supreme so seriously. You know, we're a supreme audit institution. You know, so for me, supremacy comes with excellence. Supremacy comes with changing, being impactful. And so I love what you're saying, because it talks about that you wanted to come and make a difference. Here you are, making a difference in your hometown, contributing to the very community where you grew up, and making an impact to make sure that the citizens in that municipality experience better service delivery.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
You're a bright boy. You see, this is what we want the youth of our country to do so that our future remains safe. Okay, so brand ambassadorship.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I know that you guys have been very busy as brand ambassadors, making an impact everywhere in the country. What have you guys been up to? Just tell us a little bit, just less than a minute version of what have the brand ambassadors of the AGSA been up to?
Okay, I think what the brand ambassadors are up to in a nutshell is moving from brand recognition to brand awareness, firstly. Difference being brand recognition, someone sees the AGSA logo and recognizes that is the Auditor-General of South Africa's logo. Brand awareness being that is the Auditor-General of South Africa's logo, and this is what they do.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So in a nutshell, I'd say that is what we're doing. How we are doing that is being on the ground. So we are using our social media platforms where we post our initiatives. We post before we go to a university or a high school to speak to students. And we have schools that we adopt and focus our attention on to see how can we improve those children's lives? How can we help them find direction in all of the noise, especially going from grade 9 to grade 12, that noise in there, how do you filter that out to really see a clear path for the future you want? For university students, especially focusing on the accounting students, to tell them this is the opportunities we as AGSA can present. This is what we do. If you get excited by this, you will only find it at the Supreme Audit Institution.
Oh, you know, I love it. I love it. I love it because you know what? You're actually doing the work. We can only reach young people through young people.
Yeah,
You know, because you
definitely.
speak the lingo.
Yes.
You know, so I love that you guys are doing that. I interpret it as leadership without permission. You know, you're not needing anyone to kind of say, you need to do this. You can only do this. You're not using your title to say, my title only limits me to do this. You are representing the Auditor-General of South Africa in South Africa.
But I also think it's the trust that leadership puts in us that allows us that liberty to lead without necessarily getting the permission.
Wow.
To feel comfortable and confident enough to say, this is for the benefit of the Auditor-General of South Africa, so I can see that I am on track with what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. You know, so why I enjoy being with young people is that we live in a world that is forever changing. You know, the world is changing at such a fast pace. You can't keep up with the changes. And so what I love about young people is their idealism. You know, they haven't faced the knocks of the earth where they think this can't be done. They come in with that can-do attitude. They come in with the innovation, the passion, and all of this. And so for me, they are such an important ingredient for the AGSA in shaping the internal culture of the AGSA to continuously innovate, to continuously be ahead, to continuously be thinking about how to do things differently.
Yes.
So do you think that our environment is starting to allow young people to influence the organization differently?
Yes, most definitely. I think a starting point to why I'm saying yes would be the Young Professional Leadership Forum that we have in each regional office and the national office or the national forum. That forum represents young professionals. And in the young professionals constitution, so for example, me as the chairperson of the Northern Cape Business Unit, the trainees that works with me on the forum, I am responsible to advocate for them. And I think that message gets communicated very clearly. So the young professionals knows if you have an idea, if you have a problem, if you just want to talk, you can either go to your Young Professional Leadership Forum chairperson, but the organization as a whole has so many resources and platforms that allows us to share our bright ideas and to show that we are here, we have arrived, and we are not afraid to stand out. So I would say yes, the organization definitely, and the amount of tools that you guys equip us with, trainings that we get. You make sure our salaries are market related. You make sure we get the study support that we need. In comparison to what I have heard from friends in other firms, they're not getting half of the study support in terms of study leave days and consistency in the support, because it's more than just paying for a board course when you look at the studies, for example.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so that's important, right? So we achieved a 63% pass rate.
Yeah.
And this is amidst lots of studies that have been told, that have been said about how young people that come from previously disadvantaged communities are more disadvantaged. They're not going to get the opportunities, you know. And here it is. We made it happen.
Yeah.
You made it happen. And I think it is this collaboration that continues to say, because we can offer support, but someone needs to take the support.
Yes.
You know, so it's like we do our part of the bargain. You need to do you need to
part.
come to the party.
Yes.
And together then we succeed. So what would you say, particularly about the CTA journey? And I did say congratulations, right?
You did. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations again. Okay, because it's often a journey that's clouded by you're gonna fail 3 times. You know, I really don't believe it. I really believe that with the type of support that we give, if you put your mind, your soul,
Yeah.
and the sacrifice that it will take, you can actually get it right the first time. What would you say to a young professional watching who really wants to achieve the CTA? We're just about to close. So I want you to say, what are you saying to a young professional watching this who wants to get CTA? And also maybe tell us, I think you've said a lot of things that we're doing great as a leadership team.
Yes.
But I also want to hear, what would you say, what more could we do as a leadership team
Okay.
to help you as young professionals thrive?
All right.
Yeah.
So for the first question about how to pass CTA the first time around, I can testify that myself, I failed the CTA the first attempt. And that was because I was doing very well in high school. I went to university. I didn't fail, but I also never put in the work. Then comes CTA. That is almost like your first reality check.
Yeah.
And so now looking back, I can tell current CTA students, take it as serious as they make it sound. Yeah. Take it that serious. There's a reason for it. Your lecturers and all the extra classes you attend, all those people know exactly what they're talking about. So I think for CTA and the IAC now, they changed it, the first board exams after your CTA, as well as the final board exams. There is a level of intention that is required as you move forward. And that level of intention increases as you go about it, because you start working right after you write your IAC exam. You get that first month. Then with your final board exam, now you're busy working and studying. So your intent with yourself, your future, that increases. But I would say, in a nutshell, take it as serious as people make it sound.
Yeah.
You will benefit from it.
Yeah. It's nice because it starts from really the beginning of our conversation, talking about the small disciplines. You know, starting with the small things, faithful in the small things.
Yeah.
Then by the time you get to the big things, you're already in a pattern that allows for you to succeed. Wow, well done.
Thank you.
Well done again. And then last thing, what would you need from the leadership of the AGSA? What do you think the young people of the AGSA need from the leadership to be able to thrive? It's our closing question.
All right.
Okay, so this is Christmas.
All right.
Right?
Okay. So, I think, honestly, Lindiwe, I want to change the question a bit and say, what do the YPs need to do to benefit from everything you're already providing us? Because to be very honest with you, I am someone that puts up my hand for a lot of things. So I get exposure and I see and I hear a lot about initiatives, resources made available to us and the like. And I think leadership is not doing too little. I think leadership is doing more than enough to make sure the tools we need is there. And it is as simple as trainings that's made available that costs us absolutely nothing to keep us sharpened and highly skilled with competing with the private sector. When it comes to things like auditing, you can audit in the private and the public sector. I mean, our clients is both IFRS clients and modified cash standard and GRAB clients. So we have a broader spectrum. We get exposure to all of these. It's about raising your hand saying, I am currently auditing the modified cash standard. There is an opportunity to go and audit an IFRS client. I would like that. Raising your hand. Then there is brand ambassadors, where you go out into the community and make an actual difference. That is something that you raise your hand for. All the resources, all the platforms are already there for us. I think the question should rather be, what can YPs do to come to the party and make use of these tools and resources?
Wow, amazing. Well, you heard it for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We have the most amazing young people at the AGSA. What a privilege. The future is indeed bright. But as you heard, it takes the young people themselves raising their hands. Takes the young people having the courage to say, here is something that we could do differently. It takes the young people raising their hand, saying, I'd like to do something different. I'd like to participate. Everything that you need for your success is right here at the AGSA. It really is about, as a young person, standing up, remembering the sacrifices that were made in June 16 by those young people then, seeing how far our country has come, but more importantly, being part of a legacy that says, as the young people of the AGSA, we want to make sure that our country continues to prosper. Thank you.